My name is Fiona York. I'm the Executive Officer of HAAG, which stands for Housing for the Aged Action Group. We are based in Melbourne, Victoria, and we have a national project that's working towards housing justice for all older Australians. Now, we wanted to have you on the show today to talk about housing and I guess the lack of affordable housing options for older women.
I want to be able to stay in my community, but there's very little or, if any, public housing left down here now.
Raise the Roof is on 3CR, it's a community radio station in Melbourne, and this show that we run every fortnight has been going for 25 years, and it was started by a group of older women who started the organisation. It is about housing issues for older people.
I've had to keep moving, from rented property to rented property as the owners sell. They put up the prices beyond my means.
HAAG started about 35 years ago. It was started by a small group of older women who were passionate about housing issues. So it was a community organisation, very, very grassroots. As much as we possibly can, we stay true to that essence of, I guess, housing justice and housing activism.
And the job seeker itself is really humiliating. And useless job searches, you're forced to make multiple applications to employers that don't want to know.
I think it's a terrible, terrible state of affairs, and hopefully decision makers are listening to this and they can actually put themselves in the shoes of somebody who's contributed to society for the last 60 years and now all of a sudden has to grovel for pittance. I think it's just really terrible.
And as far as corporate capitalism is concerned, it is the worst political and economic system that you can have.
3CR, the voice of dissent.
The hidden homeless for our organisation are the people who aren't showing up in the homelessness statistics. So a lot of people counted at census and they show up to homelessness services, and all of that data is given to the government, and that's the number of people that are counted as homeless. What we see are those people who don't go to services. So they're older people often who are struggling in private rental or living with friends and family or couch surfing or living in caravans or driving around and trying to do house sitting. And so for us, that hidden homeless is a much, much bigger issue because no one's looking at it, no one's counting it. And so that's why we need specialist services like ours, where we can actually have a more one-on-one personal response. We're not like Centrelink, we're not like a call centre. We will take the time to reduce those barriers and have people come and have a chat with us about their housing options and then make a plan, preferably before they end up sleeping in their car. One of the things that we've done with culturally diverse communities is to really work very closely with older people from a range of different language backgrounds and a range of different migration experiences to find out what housing means to them and what homelessness means to them. So we started working with older culturally diverse people, and we used ethno-specific services, and we talked to community leaders, and we used bilingual workers and bilingual volunteers to reach those people that are hard to find.
Does she need the bond before she moves in? Yeah. My name is Neshe. I'm an outreach worker from Housing for the Aged Action Group. When I did my placement here, I knew that there were quite a few clients who were from a culturally, linguistically diverse background. And I know that a second language would be beneficial because there are so many clients who speak Turkish, as well as several, different clients who speak many different languages. So when I first applied, I did mention that I speak Turkish. It just helps to cut out that interpreter, middleman, where sometimes it can be a bit of a barrier to speaking with clients about if you need to call them urgently, you have to wait on the phone to get an interpreter and then get through, and sometimes they may not pick up the phone. It's just, it's challenging to try and get through that way. I think women from a Turkish background or any other cold background, they might be experiencing a whole lot of issues that are behind closed doors. We might not be seeing it. Housing is really unaffordable, for everybody, including people from whom English might not be their first language and couldn't afford to live in private rental. Another one, it could be family violence. It does happen quite a bit. I mean, I don't think it discriminates. It could be any background, but I find that for a Turkish woman who's experiencing family violence, they might try to reach out to us. Traditionally, people might have their parents living with them or to provide for them so that they don't experience this, but to see the opposite happening can be quite upsetting. So it's been a bit of a challenge with COVID. Sometimes it can be quite hard to reach our clients over the phone, particularly with Zoom or anything to do with video or FaceTime. It can be quite challenging. I think that's why it's so important to meet them face to face. So today we're headed to Laverton. We're going to meet with Vanessa Hart, who's one of our clients at Housing for the Aged Action Group. She's been through a bit of a rough patch, and we're going to check in and see how she's going.
How are you? Come on in. Come on in.
Vanessa.
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm
Good
terrific.
to see you.
Come on inside. That's
Thank
it.
you.
How's everything?
I've got these blankets, Vanessa from June. She's also one of our volunteers and she makes them by hand.
Thank you. I've been putting them. See, I've used them over here.
Do you want to have a look at them?
Yes,
June?
please. Yes, that would be lovely.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Vanessa.
and my colors too.
Oh, they're
Green is for
amazing.
money. Did you know that?
See?
Oh,
Good luck.
Oh, it's good luck, mate. Like my little beetles. Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
Look at that. The
they're
colors
stunning.
are stunning. I love that.
How are you going here?
Very well. I've just, I can't complain. They look after me, and your people have been wonderful in getting me this place. And it's like I was talking to this one guy. He was here last week. He was checking for my stove, and he says he's got a quarter of this place and pays double the money. And I said, okay, this is good. This is good.
At HAAG, we try and work with the woman to make sure that she's part of it. She's an active sort of agent in her own life, and that we're not making those decisions for her. Normally, we'd be out 90% of the time, doing what we can to try and house people and to make sure their needs are met.
I say HAAG, many people say HAAG. One of the things that I've been doing is working on a national project for Housing for the Aged Action Group, and that's looked at who's doing what in this space around the country, and that's really identified the gap in the service system in terms of supports for older people, but also the idea of a member-based advocacy organisation. We offer a service called Home at Last, so that's an information service that we offer across the state. Then we also do community engagement sort of to reach people before they hit a crisis point, so that's about early intervention and prevention. It's old-fashioned community development. It's going out and talking to people in their communities. And then we provide housing support for people who are in a housing crisis, and so that's helping them to access social housing. We also do advocacy work as well, but no, we don't actually have any physical housing, but we work in the housing and homelessness sector to help people to access housing that is available. For us as an organisation, we take a rights-based approach. That's about recognising that people are rights holders, and so we empower people to be part of policy and practice discussions to inform and empower their voice around that right. And we also clear to bring duty bearers, government, bureaucrats, organisations, institutions to recognise that right, and then to have that then play out in terms of the way in which they operate their policies and practices. Housing is absolutely a human right. All nations of the world recognise that. It's part of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, the right to shelter. It's also absolutely critical to people's dignity and to their physical and mental health. I think the recent release of the Royal Commission into aged care provides a stark warning or insight into the fates of older people. That's really stark in terms of aged care. It's out of sight and out of mind. It's reflective of how older people are unseen, and there's a focus on youth in our society. We know women have traditionally felt that they're unseen as they get older. I think that's just unfortunately the case in our society.
I think the key issue is around the stigma, is that people think that homelessness means rough sleepers, people who are living on the streets and are much more visible. But what we tell people in our community education is that if you're a single older woman aged say 55 and older, living on a government pension in private rental, you are very likely to be at risk of homelessness.